Hello garden friends, welcome back to the garden. I'm gonna be doing some garden chores today. I'm having a very low energy day, feeling a little bit MSy because the heat has just been so bad. So bad. I haven't been able to even get out here. This is the first slightly cooler evening that we've had in the last week. So I'm like, even though I'm feeling low energy, I just have to get out and take advantage. I'm gonna see what all I can get done today. There's a lot on the list, but we're just gonna go through it one task at a time. I'm gonna get this out of the way first. I really need to turn over this bed. You guys saw me harvest all of my potatoes and onions out of this bed. It was such a successful harvest. I have already gone in and topped up the bed with some fresh compost. Actually, it's called soil conditioner from Fox Farm. I've never actually used it before. I'm trying it out. We'll see how that goes. And then I'm gonna need to put on some mulch over top. But what I'm doing with this bed now, sweet potatoes are going in this side where the onions were. Corn is gonna go in the other side where the potatoes were. I already have planted 9 sweet potato slips here in the front. This is a different variety. So Renee's Garden sent me the Purple Majesty sweet potato slips. By the way, as an influencer, content creator, I love Renee's Garden. Like, from the creator side, like, brands are always wanting to send you stuff. That's a given, but usually they're like expecting something in return. Not always, but like sometimes there's just like this general expectation behind it, or you have to like ask for certain things to be sent to you. You have to coordinate with them. Renee's Garden, they got my address and they just stay sending me things. Like they no asking, no expectations, no communication, no anything. I'll just get a shipment from Renee's Garden and I'm like, wow, what goodies have they sent me? It's like Christmas. It's so fun. So I love Renee's Garden for that. So I didn't expect these sweet potato slips. They just sent them to me. It's called Purple Majesty. They're a purple variety. I've never grown purple sweet potatoes before, so I'm really excited. I need to plant these ones as well. So these I actually bought from So True Seed, and it's called Bayou Belle is the variety, and these are just your regular orange sweet potatoes. So these are gonna go here in the back row, and I've just been rooting these in water. I will say, the ones from So True Seed, they came not rooted at all. They were just sticks. The ones from Renee's Garden, obviously they're leafless, but they had roots. They had a really good root system already. So I was impressed by that. I mean, I love So True Seed, but I was a little disappointed in their slips, like to not have any roots, like they were just essentially cuttings. And I had to root them myself in water. And as you can see, like the roots are very, very teeny tiny. The ones from Renee's Garden, they already had a pretty good root system. So do with that information what you will. So I am planting these slips about a foot apart. According to Square Foot Gardening, they're good to go about a foot apart. These are gonna get crazy because this is gonna be like 16 slips in this one half of this bed. Be pretty crowded, but I love sweet potatoes. I don't like curing sweet potatoes because it's like a whole process that I will be showing once I'm doing it. But I do love growing them because they're just really easy, and you can also eat the leaves. The leaves are really a great summer green to have in your garden. They taste like spinach. So it's a heat tolerant green that you can grow in the summer. And a lot of people sleep on the greens of sweet potatoes, and I'm like, why? This is amazing. This is perfect. I'm really disappointed in these slips. There's like no roots on this one. We'll see. Hopefully they don't miss a beat, and since they're in soil, they'll keep growing. It's all we can hope for. On this side, we're doing corn, and I'm gonna plant this wild violet hybrid sweet corn from Burpee. And I'm excited to see this. I did plant a different type of violet variety from them once, and it was beautiful. This is a different one. It says it's multicolored corn with creamy white and amethyst purple kernels, each bursting with sweet, juicy flavor. Color deepens with cooking. So I'm excited about that. Usually sweet corn isn't very colorful. Usually the colorful ones are like the dent corns. So I'm excited to grow a colorful sweet corn. So I am just going to pop as many corns in here as I can. I think for square foot gardening, it's like 4 plants per square foot. I'm just gonna kind of like do a line here and do like every 6 inches or so and just pop them in. And I am gonna make sure that I either stake my corn this year, or I'm gonna come up with some kind of trellising system, because I'm good at growing corn. I can get corn to a harvestable stage, but then a hurricane comes along, or like some kind of tornado, or like just a random afternoon storm in North Carolina, and it just knocks all of the corn over. So this year I am determined. I'm just so determined to finally like grow corn and nothing bad happen to it. So I'm gonna plant them pretty densely, that way they can just grow and keep each other upright. And maybe I'll put some stakes on the 4 corners and then like wrap twine around it to keep them nice and tall. Here's to hoping that this year's hurricane season is not bad. Now I'm just throwing on some straw mulch. Mulch is so important, especially right now in the peak of the summer when it's so hot. I like to use straw mulch because it's light colored, so it actually reflects light away from the soil, which keeps the soil cooler. It protects the soil from erosion and compaction, from all the rain that we get here in the summers. And then it also helps retain moisture for your plants. And so this is always an essential for me. I'm not gonna lie, that task took up a lot of the little energy that I have left. I just caught myself just like staring off into space for like a good 5 minutes, and then I had to like bring it back. Another thing that I had on my priority list that I would really like to get done today, and it'll make me feel so much better, is fertilizing some things. I usually don't fertilize my entire garden. My goal is to add enough organic matter to the soil every spring and fall for the plants to really not need any organic, definitely not any synthetic fertilizers. I don't like synthetic fertilizers. That's doing nothing to your soil except for adding chemicals to it, which can disrupt like a bunch of your soil biology. We did a whole episode about this on the Garden Girls podcast if you would like to take a look at that. But if I do feel like I need to add fertilizer, if I have some plants that are just looking like they need a little boost, I always go with something organic. And I do have a few plants that look like they need a little boost. Usually it's the heavy feeders, like tomatoes are pretty heavy feeders, peppers, eggplants, squash, and like all of the ones that I'm looking at that I'm like, ooh, you need a little boost, they're squash. Squash are really heavy feeders. And so I'm just gonna go around and add a little bit of organic fertilizer. I'm using this Happy Frog by Fox Farm. This is great. This is a 573. It has more potassium in it, which is great for plants that are in their fruiting phase, which my whole garden is pretty much in that phase right now. I also like Espoma Garden Tone. That's another really good organic fertilizer. It really doesn't matter. Like, I really don't think it matters what fertilizer you use. Just make sure it's organic. If it's organic, it's probably gonna be a higher quality one, and it's probably gonna be fine. Like, don't think too hard about it. I am partial to Happy Frog and Fox Farm products in general. I think they make great products. So let me show you what's looking like it needs a boost. This is one of my butternut squashes. I think it's honey nut. I think it's the miniature version, but look at this. You can see that the new leaves that are coming in are very yellow. They're not very large, they're not very green, and that to me is signaling some type of nutrient deficiency. And so when I see something like this, I'm like, okay, you need a boost of fertilizer, and then we'll kind of reevaluate, see if that fixes things. Also on these older leaves, it's kind of like you can see the outline of the veins, and that right there is nutrient deficiency. The squash that is here as well, it's a little runt squash, little runt Seminole pumpkin. And I say it's a runt because I have another Seminole pumpkin on the other side in a completely different bed. And look at how tall this one is. It's definitely not in a nutrient deficiency. So that is telling me that this bed, this entire bed, probably needs some fertilizer for all of the plants in it. I also have 3 tomatillos in there. So I'm just gonna hit this entire bed with some of this fert. The back of the package says about a 1/2 cup per plant. I'm just gonna eyeball it and say that's about a half a cup, give or take. And I'm gonna go around the outside of the plant, not right up against the plant. I don't want the fertilizer to physically touch the plant, but just kind of go around the outside. And then we're gonna work it into the top layer of the soil. And that's it. Here's another little pumpkin that looks like it's struggling, and you can see that yellowing with the new growth coming in. Not a good sign. There were really only a few things that needed the fertilizer. And now I'm gonna take a pivot, and I'm looking around at all of these beautiful flowers that are blooming right now, and they need to be deadheaded. So I thought that's kind of a low effort-ish thing, and I thought I could make a bouquet. So I actually made this in pottery class. Sometimes my fiance and I will do these like pottery nights. Like there's a pottery studio that does hand building workshops, and it's just kind of like one-offs. Like you don't have to commit to like weeks of classes, but you can come in and just make something cute. I'm a little scared of her. I'm not gonna lie. I am a little bit scared of her. I mean, she's cute, but like, what is that? What is that face? What are these eyes? I don't know. She's cute. It's a little vase. So we're gonna make a bouquet and deadhead flowers at the same time. If you don't know what deadheading flowers means, it literally just means chopping off the flowers. A lot of flowers are kind of cut and come again, meaning the more you cut them, the more they're going to produce, and zinnias are definitely one of those. Usually when flowers start going to seed, that's gonna signal to the plant that it needs to stop blooming because its entire existence rests upon creating seeds. So in order to stop it from creating seeds, you wanna cut off old spent blooms. Like this one is pretty much done. When a zinnia, like its entire middle part becomes really like tall and chunky like this, and like the petals start coming off, it means it's done. I'm not gonna use this for a bouquet. I'm just cutting this off, and I'm gonna go all the way down to where it kind of intersects down here and just chop it right off. What I would use in a bouquet is something like this that is kind of becoming spent, but it still looks very pretty, and the plant can still benefit from having this chopped off. So I'll also just come down to the base and then kind of remove these leaves. And this will be our first bouquet flower. Here's some beautiful pink zinnia blooms. I'll use this one in a bouquet, and this one's kind of spent, so we'll just chop that one off. Here's some orange zinnias along with some little orange cosmo blooms. With the Cosmo, you definitely want to stay on top of deadheading these because these are spent Cosmo blooms, and Cosmo goes to seed really quickly and it'll spread. It's kind of an aggressive spreader. So I always like to come in and cut these off before they actually create seed. And it's kind of fun because if you just kind of want to go into like mega speed with it, you can just like chop off the heads like this. See, this one is already going to seed. I already messed up because look at all these seeds. So there will definitely be cosmos popping up here again next year. I guess I might as well just go ahead and chaos sow some. We'll grab some for our bouquet too. This is what I was really excited about. There's this random dahlia. It's a dinner plate dahlia. It comes back every year. I don't have to dig up the bulbs or anything. It's like right beside the chicken fence, and sometimes the chickens will come through and eat it like down to the ground, but they haven't this year, and look at this bloom. So this is gonna be like the main showstopper. This is so gorgeous. Here's a white zinnia. This one is so pretty. I think it's called polar bear or giant white, I'm not sure. We've got another dahlia here. My friend actually gifted me this one this year, so it's really special. I have it growing in a grow bag. It's growing in a 10-gallon grow bag, and it's so beautiful. I love the like strawberry lemonade. This is probably my favorite color palette in the garden. I'm really not like the best at putting together bouquets. My definition of a bouquet is just a bunch of showy flowers together. I know that there's like a whole art to this kind of stuff, but yeah, this will look really pretty on my table inside while they last, especially this one. Oh, it's so pretty. Like, what do you mean? I love dinner plate dahlias. Like, they're like the size of your head and they're just so pretty. The last thing I'm gonna do is to put these organza bags over my nectarines. This is my nectarine tree. They're kind of starting to get to the point where they're almost ready, like they're ripening-ish. So I wanna protect them because as soon as they start to ripen, all the bugs come and they wanna eat my nectarines before I get a chance to. And so what I do is I put these just over the fruit like that, and then it just creates a physical barrier so that the bugs cannot physically get to it. It does make your plant look a bit silly, like there's little ghosties hanging from it, but it does work. I'm gonna do one last thing. I'm so tired, but I cannot let the bugs win this year. I cannot let them win. So we're going bug hunting. You, Mrs. Ladybug, are free to go. You, however, Mr. Squash Bug. Got him. Oh, there's another one. There's another one. Oh my God, there was 3 of them. I'm mostly looking in my cucurbits for squash bugs, bean beetles, anything like that. I see another squash bug. I'm seeing a lot less of them than I did the other night. The other night I had an entire like vacuum canister full of different bugs. There were a ton of squash bug babies, there were eggs, there were everything. But the fact that I'm not seeing as many now means that my efforts are paying off, I think. I know this seems kind of silly, but this is organic gardening. We can't use chemicals, so we use vacuums. Look at all of these squash bugs in here. This is just one pass, one evening. So I've been making it a habit to come out every evening with this vacuum and just kind of walk around and suck them up. That is all I've got in me this evening. I am gonna go take a shower and get in bed. Is something biting my ear? Oh my God, I think I literally just got stung by a mosquito in my earlobe. That's a new spot. Sorry. Thank you guys so much for coming along with me this evening. If you guys liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notifications button to be notified when I drop new videos so that you don't miss any. You can find me on all of the places. I am also on Substack, and you can also check out the Garden Girls podcast. We drop new episodes every single week, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.